you will gain some understanding on how we operate from our side. So it will be a bit on. Let me just become a little bit acquainted with my screen here. A bit on how Vinnova as an organization, who we are. I mean, I think that is good for you to sort of get that as an understanding as well. And then we will dive into sort of the Swedish innovation landscape in a bit, and as well as a bit more on how Vinnova is working on food and food tech, and what we sort of can provide and create opportunities for you. So that's sort of the overview of this. So I think I brought Joanna with me, since she's sort of an expert on international collaborations as well, and yeah, giving those opportunities for different countries to collaborate with Sweden. So Joanna, would you like to sort of introduce Vinnova a little bit in an international perspective? What do you say to people who, what is Vinnova? Who are we?
Yes, thank you, Alexander. I will go through some, as Alexander said, generic information about Vinnova to get a better understanding of why and how we work the way we do. Just a bit about myself. I was previously actually based in Israel. So I was Vinnova's person in Tel Aviv. And in 1 month, I'll be moving to Singapore, and I'll be Vinnova's person in Singapore. So I'm working with closely with both the ecosystems. But Vinnova then is Sweden's innovation agency. We're a government agency based under the Ministry of Climate and Enterprise. And our mission currently is to support innovation that makes a difference, because we believe that at this moment, with the challenges we're facing globally, innovation is more important than ever. And given the hard deadline we have by the planet, we are definitely running out of time. Okay, Alexander. We work very closely with the Global Development Goals. The Agenda 2030 is very interlinked with everything we do. We demand it from all our stakeholders to link up to these goals and to kind of explain how the initiatives that they want us to fund will contribute to the goal. So this is our leading star. And as I said, given the challenges we're facing in the world, we need innovation in a very broad sense. So it's not only about developing new products or supporting the startup ecosystem or things like that. We believe that everyone needs to come together to change the systems around the innovation that we need. So we bring together all the stakeholders out there, and we challenge them to innovate in new ways. So the kind of stakeholders we support, it's of course companies, startups, and large corporates, but also academia, research organization, and also public sector. So municipalities and city councils, hospitals, and also civil society and like civil organizations are important stakeholders. And we like to see projects where all these organizations collaborate to see new conglomerates and organizations that wouldn't normally work together is something that we like to see.
And you will probably see that when we get back into more other examples from food tech. So that's good.
And as I said before, we encourage our projects to think differently. We do not fund business as usual, or the development of a startup to kind of enter a new market or to do more sales. We want to see true innovation in the projects we fund. This is our annual budget. I'm not that quick at math, but Alexander, if you have the figure in euros, for example, that might...
US dollars, I would say 300 million US dollars.
Mm. And we fund around 2,000 projects per year, ranging from super small projects, which is just to do like a small market research, to very big projects that incorporate many regions and many universities and span over several years. And of course, Sweden wants to be like an innovation powerhouse, but we do realize that we cannot get there on our own. And international partners are very important. And we have also, I mean, given the Earth Alliance, we have come to realize that we need especially to collaborate with other nations, small, smart countries that are at the top of the innovation index in order to get where we want to get. And let's see. Oh yeah, and we're also the organization that works with EU funding. So we are the contact point in Sweden for the Horizon Europe, for Eureka, for Eurostars, Global Stars. And we have the experts in-house that support Swedish organizations to apply to these grants. And we work with a few selected countries, not all the countries. The countries we work with are selected either because the Swedish government has an MOU with them, or because Swedish industry is especially interested, or because they're innovation powerhouses such as ourselves. So the purple arrows here are the countries that we collaborate with. And then we have a few offices abroad. And until today, it's Brussels, it's Silicon Valley, and it's Tel Aviv. And starting next month, then we'll also have Singapore. But usually we do our international collaborations from Sweden.
And what will happen next month, Joanna?
Exactly, that's when Singapore will open up its office.
And you will be the one representing us there as well.
I will be the one, which is very exciting.
That's good.
And just to explain how we work, we're a matrix organization. So we're 8 areas in Vinnova, like subject matter areas, that we've divided into societal challenges and innovative capabilities. And if you go to the next slide. So the societal challenges, they're thematic, like industry, mobility, health. And this is where the food area comes in that Alexander is leading. And then we also have the innovative capabilities, digital transformation, ecosystem, which is where we work with the startup ecosystems. I mean, we do look at the startup ecosystem. It's just not the main focus. And we have also an area called future areas of innovation, where everything that doesn't fit anywhere else but is exciting to work with, we put in there.
And also they work a lot with the sort of foresight and synthetic biology and all those kinds of things as well.
Exactly.
In your area.
And that was it. Just very quick background about.
Yeah, I thought that this will be sort of a way to look into more that was Vinnova, and this will be more about the Swedish innovation landscape to help you to get to know that. And I think we will help each other with this one, Joanna. We put together some slides. This is sort of the basics for our work internationally. I mean, we rank very high on all these scoreboards, and I mean, basically all our countries in this group do that. I mean, because that's also part of the reason why we're here, right? So that is not maybe something special for us, but it definitely gives us the opportunity to collaborate. But we also thought that, I mean, it's good to know a little bit on why this is the case. And these are the sort of part of the metrics that you use when deciding if you're innovative or not. There are more, but we sort of picked up a few. And all of us, we score high on these things. So it still is nothing special, but let's see if we could say something about what makes the Swedish ecosystem interesting. I mean, in terms of human resources, Sweden has really a long tradition in public schooling, and the universities are for free for everyone. So both when you're young and when you're old, you're able to get back to university, which means that you have sort of a large proportion of well-educated people, and that is also part why the human resources is big. This is also showcase that we also have a really strong in terms of food. Then I'll try to sort of pinpoint what is also relevant for the food sector. So we have one of the strongest universities in the world in relation to agri and forestry. It's not really 100% food tech, I would say, but it still provides good opportunities for sort of innovations. And this also tends to get over to the research system. I mean, because they are also, of course, researchers. We also have these kinds of different kinds of facilities. This is the Max 4, which is an accelerator. It's sort of the leading one, the most advanced one in the world. And this is also some kind of facilities that are in place in Sweden. This gives, for example, opportunities for the food area if they want to elaborate on molecules and try to X-ray different things, because that's what you can do with these things. So that's sort of the research system. And Sweden is also very strong in digitalization, has been for a long time. We're sort of early adopters. I was looking into figures on internet penetration, and nowadays we're not that sort of, it doesn't differentiate that much, but we were really, the internet connection was big. I mean, we have a tradition of Ericsson, which is one of the largest companies in terms of providing internet connections, and based on their work, I mean, they were the first with the GMS system. I mean, that was sort of kind of innovation coming from that. I mean, the Bluetooth is sort of also a spin-off from Sweden and from Ericsson. The phone you see on the right, I mean, it symbolizes that they came up with that you can use buttons instead of sort of the scrolling bar. I mean, there's many things in terms of digitalization that is happening. So this is just showcasing the graphic card early stage is also one of those things. We used to have the fastest computer in the world, supercomputers and visualizations, all those kinds of things is also part of that, showcasing that we are sort of strong in digitalization. And of course, we are also a startup nation in a way. I mean, when you look at these different kinds of scoreboards, Sweden ranked high. This is a list of the countries with the top number of unicorns in the world. Stockholm is often regarded as a startup hub. We have different kinds of Oatly is one of the products that you can see when we look into the Food Tech 500 list. You will see countries, the most sort of promising companies. I haven't really done the sort of the analysis of that, but we still provide a good opportunity for startups. So that's also. We might not be, we provide a lot of investments governmentally, but I would say what stands out is that we have really a strong tradition in engineering and sort of the industry part. So I mentioned Ericsson, but there is also a number of others, ABB, in the car industry, Volvo and Saab used to be really strong car companies, and we also have in the military sector so there's also those kinds of, with our defense system, Scania, and should I mention something else, Joanna?
No.
Tetra Pak? Maybe Tetra Pak on the slide?
Exactly. And then is the Tetra Pak, of course, in relation to food. And so this is a bit interesting because in most areas, these big industry players, they drive investments. We don't have that many strong food companies that are really driving investments in the food area in the same way as in other areas. So that is a sort of a little bit different. Tetra Pak is one of the exceptions, I would say, providing like bottling up different things, but they also provide equipment for when processing things. So if you have had a drink sometime in a bottle or in a package, it's very likely that it's been tested in their facilities in south of Sweden, that kind of fluid. Yeah. That's Tetra. And of course, I mean, use of technologies, I mean, it comes along with the digitalization aspect, I would say. I mean, Sweden, and I mean that this is probably similar to all our countries, that we are sort of very well equipped with how we use electronics and these things. I mean, we were very early on and using a cashless society, and now a lot of other countries are coming along. You won't be able to use cash if you go to most places today, actually. So that's sort of giving you an overview of a sort of a flavor of what Sweden is in terms of innovation and innovation landscapes, and what you might encounter and what you can benefit from when having collaboration with Sweden. We also have we have these incubators and science park. This is part of what Vinnova is doing. Sweden is, of course, this small country over here. I don't know why I did that. You know where we are. These are all different kinds of incubators and science park. Most of them are also providing opportunities for different kinds of startups and giving them support in various ways. There is one, Vinnova, in the south of Sweden, especially dedicated to food tech, especially. So that is also good to know. And I mean, and I just also wanted to say, in terms of food, when you look at this, because I got this map, this shows that Sweden is a pretty large country as well, and it's also a sort of it's a long country, and it also provides a lot of different living conditions and different opportunities to create food. So in the south, you will see a very different landscape than in the north, because in the north it's cold and mountain areas and things like that. So just to get you an understanding that, and in the north we have a very large energy production, and is driving a lot of industry at the moment regarding how for sustainable and climate-friendly energy is being produced, and a lot of companies and the industry wants to sort of being established there, which also drives the sort of the energy uses. And when you use energy, you also provide heat, and that also create opportunities for all different kinds of indoor farming and things like that. So that is also something that you will see a lot in Sweden. Great. So that was sort of a little bit from Sweden from an innovation perspective. I would like to go into what we are doing from Vinnova in terms of food tech, and what we do that sort of stands out, and also give opportunities for you if you would like to. What are our specialities, you could say. That is what we try to say here. And there's so many things that I would like to say about these things. So, and I'm a little bit afraid that it might be a bit overwhelming. So these are sort of the main takeaways. If you're approaching us at Vinnova, these are our strongholds, I would say. That we are really, as this sort of is also in line with what Joanna previously told about, in general, but especially the food area. We work a lot with the sustainability. There is the impact is very much in focus, circular economy, and a lot of things with food waste, and how to sort of create some symbiosis with the industry that I talked about. And we have this strong legacy from the industry, and we are in sort of an engineering country, so that's also part of the things that we see. And the other thing is that, I mean, and you will see that very soon, that we're sort of based upon system thinking. So this sort of keeping the whole system in our mind at the same time. That is also very much something that we are elaborating on. We are trying out, we're testing it, we're sort of trying to be in the forefront as well in innovation theory, you could say, in system innovation theory. This we already talked about, the different areas. This is us. Yeah, this is mainly to say that this is the flower you see on the left. That's sort of the context that we find ourselves in. This is our context flower, our area, and you will recognize that. I mean, you had to think about the planet, the health, the culture. We have to make sure that we have the food sufficiency. Etc., etc. Choice means that I mean, a lot of things is based on people's choice when you're buying food, but as well when you are maybe a farmer, something that you decide to use one kind of technology instead of another. It's also sort of a choice that you have to work with. And we work with all these kinds of different, again, Agenda 3020. This is just an overview of what we fund. Last year, there was 189 projects in our portfolio, and in terms of, and they had a total grant budget of 47 million US dollars. But always when we fund things, they more or less always they need to co-fund things. So the total budget is larger. So that is sort of the proportion. And the picture you see on the right is that the area that I represent is the black area. That's only a part of what we're doing, you could say, in terms of food and food tech. So we get a lot of food projects coming from industry, the industry area, or we have an area, as Joanna said, about the digital transformation, for instance, and we will find projects there as well. So
it's interesting to see that the majority of the projects are in food systems.
No, this is only this. No, this is only projects within food.
Okay.
So if we look at all the 189 projects that we have in food, then we know the area that we have, the strategic area of food systems. We have a budget sort of dedicated for food, and that's the black area. But it's saying that a lot of things that is happening at Vinnova is not only in this strategic area of sustainable food systems, which I represent. Maybe it might not be so relevant for you to divide it in that way, actually, I reckon. But yeah. Anyway,
no, it's still interesting to see this. I think it's a great majority. Great.
So and in terms of the initiatives that we sort of drive and that we do when we are sort of trying to from my area, when we're trying to change the food systems to a sustainable food systems, we can sort of divide them into three different kinds of initiatives: platforms, like ecosystem building, and more innovation projects where we're trying to find edge and new things, and also the international work that we're doing. But in all the work that we're doing, we're also trying to take into account different kinds of system dimensions. So you can think that, okay, we provide projects within technology. I mean, that's also why I wrote tech in sort of brackets, because I mean, tech is one of the area that we need to sort of needs to evolve in order to sort of create a better food system. But you also need to work with sort of the infrastructure, and you also need to work with business model, and especially with behaviors and policy. So that means that you can have a super nice food tech company, but it will never flourish if you're not really able to change people's behaviors or improve the policy. So we need to work with those things as well. And I will soon go into, because I still think this the platform, the ecosystem thinking is probably our strongest thing, and that differentiate us the most. So I will mention briefly the other two here. I mean, in terms of in international collaboration, we have this EU work that Joanna mentioned, and we also provide different kinds of support in order to improve the international collaboration, you could say. So we have had the Eureka call for proposals recently, together with some of you here. And we also provide traveling grants, and we also provide grants in order to set up a project, like a pre-grants, in order to apply for other kinds of funding. And these are all things that Joanna is sort of in charge of in various ways. So that is a part of the things that we're doing. So yeah, you know about, I think we have mentioned these things before, but some of you are new as well. And in terms of innovation projects, that's here here is sort of, we do call for proposals in areas where we try to sort of push the boundary. So we have had a series of call for proposals in the protein area, alternative proteins and things like that. But we have also had call for proposal in different kinds of field, like for future prototypes, because we see that you need to understand how the future will look like. So we have given the Swedish innovation landscape sort of opportunities to do prototypes, more like physical interventions where you try to showcase what the future will look like. So you can actually move into an environment where, for example, the lake has a voice. So that will be a future prototype that we will see in a while. That you can talk to a lake and understand if that lake, if the water is fresh, if it's having problems, if the lake is fine with the new industry being established in the nearby, because we have different kinds of data that sort of gives us an understanding how the lake is feeling in terms of pollution or temperature and things like that. So that's an example on a future prototype that we'll see, and it's a provocative things that so we would like to create provocations, you could say, in order to, what will the future look like, and how do we want that kind of future, or don't we want that kind of future? So that's an example of innovation projects that will drive things in the future that we provide. Yeah, I think I'll just leave you with those examples, like alternative protein projects, or these future prototype projects and things like that, and go into more the ecosystem. So the ecosystem is things like incubators that you saw earlier on, and also other kinds of test beds that we support. But they also we also provide, we have worked with this system innovation aspects over the last years, where this was actually done maybe 5-6 years ago, that we gathered over 300 people from various different kinds of organizations. That's the bubbles you see in the background, from different kinds of organizations, to find out how can we find new ways to collaborate for sustainable food systems, like go beyond borders and go beyond sort of obligations and things like that, to sort of get together. And this is done in a similar way. This is also something that we are built together with different kinds of stakeholders, methods and strategies to transform food in times of crisis. So it's showcase. This is and this we. And this was starting up from our for our work on this system theory work, that we really try to understand what are the areas that we can build upon and where we can create and mobilize for radical change within the food system. So it's not, of course, I'm not saying this for you to be able to read or understand what we're working. It's more like a visual representation on how we try to get different kinds of stakeholders, and we try to really think from different perspectives on things. But here you will see food tech, the protein shift, regenerative food, health, youth as examples. And did after this was that we took this to a next step, and we invited people not to do innovation projects within this field, but to become system transformation masters. So we invited them for almost a half-a-year-long course, 100 people that we thought that were the best ones equipped to be able to sort of learn about system transformation within the food system in relation to this in Sweden. So these are the ones that you see on the picture to the left. And after this, we selected some of them, and together with others, to create task forces or innovation platforms. So that's what we have now, that we have been driving for almost a year. So we want to have these kinds of platform. It's you could say it's some kind of an office, but at same time they are on the forefront in trying to push things. So they are communicating, and they are gathering knowledge, and they are gathering stakeholders. They are making sure that we get new products that are on the edge. So we funded 8 of these platforms, you can say that they're kind of startup themselves in a way. And they might not be the ones that you see on the right in the picture, the task force. They might not be the ones that know so much about food or food tech. I mean, they might be the ones that are really good in research, or maybe they are really good in project management or communication, or they need to be really good in changing things and making sure that things happens. So, and I gave 3 examples down to the right of these 8 platforms that we funded, that I think is relevant to what we hear today. So we have the one platform that is Biotech Heights. All of them needs to have a vision or a mission, what they want to do. So their mission is by 2035, everyone will be eating new fermented food every day. That is what they're striving for. And then they have collaboration with a really big university in south of Sweden. They have super nice equipment. They have this Max 4 that I talked about. Tetra Pak is involved in this as well, and etc. So they are sort of building a community around these things. And now, so there's a skilled people that are driving this mission together with a lot of others. But we at this stage only fund and support this task force. Another one is the Protein Revolution. They are driving the case for world-class proteins. That is sort of relevant for this as well. We have another one that really makes use of the city and the urban landscape, and they say that within a decade, 1/3 of the food consumed in the city is produced, processed, and sold in the city. So they're also looking a lot of the circular aspects, as you mentioned already. So that is sort of this is what we so these is our platforms, and we try to sort of support them in various ways. And this is a bit tricky question. So in the top you will see the 8 platforms, and they themselves, at this stage we sort of support them with funding for their organizational situation, to be able to have an office and to be able to drive things. That's what we fund them for. And then they will have clusters of projects within them. They could be startups, they could be other kinds, they could be future projects, they could be different things that lies within their portfolio projects that is sort of driving them forward. One of the things that we see as problematic within the field, the challenges that is, as you will see there, in the middle, projects and initiatives are made without a common thread. So we fund so many projects, but they're not really sure if they drive in a common direction. So this is sort of the case for these platforms, to make sure that they have a portfolio of projects that really drive towards their mission. So that is one thing that we do. But on the other side, what we also do is that we have sort of a system accelerator, we call it that. It's a support facility. So we try to give these platforms the best opportunity possible in order to succeed with their task, because they don't know, for instance, policy and regulations. They might not have all the connections. We do have better connections that they, so we are able to provide that. We also provide them funding in order to have these kinds of policy sandbox activities. And we help them with communication, we help them with evaluation aspects. That's also something that is sometimes tricky, with making sure that you can follow up in things. And so these are all components that we are supporting them with. And example of activities, I mean, we make it easier for them with providing newsletters. We make sure that they meet in person. We make sure that they know what funding is available that they can apply for. We still make sure that they exceed in their knowledge, etc. So that is also what we're doing. So this is our ecosystem approach. Is a mission-oriented approach. Is approach to making sure that we have the platforms available to sort of create change. So, and here we're able to sort of, here we also would like to, I mean, we of course need to make sure that these are internationally in the forefront internationally. So we need to connect them to you guys, to the best, the EU system, in order to make them successful. So that is also part of what we're doing. And we're expecting that from them to drive that themselves, but we're also supporting them with that. Does that make sense?
A lot.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely.
Okay, good. Okay, so I will just, so these are recently started, so they have not gotten so far. I will give you an example of where we've gotten a bit further. This was our tryout. We tried out with the mission of school food system. So this was sort of our own prototype, how to make these platforms. So based on the dialogue that we have with a lot of persons, we came through that the public sector and the public sector food is sort of could be a leverage for changing the food system. So we created a project that is around the mission that every child in Sweden eats healthy, tasty, and sustainable food, school food. And we're doing that together with the organizations that you see on the left is sort of public agencies, 8 of them. So 8 governmental agencies together to drive this change. And there's agencies for the EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, for instance. They normally don't work with food in schools, but here they work because they want to change the food system. And there are a couple of others, and the ones that you see, the kommun, that means municipality. Sorry for not translating this. So again, I mean, we made a thorough research. This is the sort of the system analysis of the different kinds of things that the challenges that we see, the opportunities, the main problems. It's and we are tackling this in a couple of areas. And so we have food tech here in this, but in order to create food tech, you need to be able to the schools need to be able to buy the food tech products. So we are now on the third generation of a new prototype for a procurement system that is supporting the food tech area. So this will be, hopefully it will be available for all municipalities in all of Sweden. And I say we, it's the project. It's not, it's we're doing this sort of through the project. So that's a procurement system that is being built. We're also building up. The project is also working on how to make sure that children are trying out new things within that they are happy to try new school food. We're also looking in how you can change the environment, like the school restaurant, you could say, in a way that the students find it more welcoming and that everyone would like to stay there for a longer period of time. And we're also working on following up measures like national targets and also what do you say? What you need in order to measure the changes, and also making sure that this is being measured every third year from all the municipalities in Sweden. So this, to give you a couple of examples, that is a sort of a broad perspective, and within this we often invite food tech companies, but there is also things like we work with the students and they become food. Anyway, I will work on. This is a work that we do with government agencies and making sure that we're working on new policies, new ways of working. This was an example of how, because now I'm going just giving you examples of two projects. I will sum up after this. So this was our work in how to make sure that we're working with the ecosystem, and that we're tackling all these kinds of different things as infrastructure and business models and behavior and things like that at the same time. And to give an example of how we work with these different aspects of the system dimensions in terms of innovation projects. I will just give you the herring burger. Herring is a Swedish fish that we found in the Baltic Sea, and it's not that big. And I would say the challenge with the fish industry is that so little fish ends up on the plate. So if you look at how much food is being wasted, it's like 80% of the fish is being wasted or is not ending up on the plate. And it's because you process the food and you want to have fillets and things like that. So hopefully it will becomes food for our animal industry, but it often doesn't. So this is sort of a research project that they're able to refine the leftovers, and they also created a spin-off, a startup for that. They're working with a big provider of food, Swedish Pelagic, which is also making a new kind of project, like a minced fish product that is sort of tasty. They're trying out this with in schools, actually, connected to the previous project that I told about school food, making sure that they try the product, but also make sure that food influencers that they're working with in one municipalities is spreading the word. We also have a big knowledge exchange network in terms of school food, so they are sharing the experiences how to work with this product within the school kitchen. So it's sort of, it tries to build up that we have to work on different layers. It doesn't really help if you find a way to refine this product in a better way, or if you create a food tech company that sort of provides the solution to refine the product, the processing for refining the product. You have to have different things at the same time. Yeah, that is sort of trying to give you a glimpse on how Vinnova is trying to target the challenge in order to create a sustainable food system. And I'll see if I'm able to did I? Yeah.
Perfect. I think this was really enlightening for me, at least. We can take a few question and answers. If anybody wants to ask a question.
Alexander, maybe I missed it, but did you mention how many food tech companies do you have in Sweden right now?
I didn't mention it, and I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not even sure how to define what is a food tech company or not. You say, but no, I know that we have the strong ones internationally, and yeah.
Okay.
Sorry for not being able to provide that, David.
No, it's okay.
Anu?
Yes, thanks. Thanks for the presentation. I'm Anu Seisto from VTT in Finland. I'm curious about the behavior part of the picture. How is that visible in the project? Is it something that might be like the main thing, or is it included in the projects?
Yes, it is something that is included, I would say. That's something that we ask for, and that is often something that we require in a way, and part of our evaluation. We just had a selection meeting yesterday in a new call for proposal that is also rather interesting for this setting. So I mentioned that there are not so many, the industry is not really driving innovations and development in the same way that is done in other sectors, and would like to encourage that more. So the call for proposal was to get established industry to connect with startups and make sure that they sort of get on their toes. And in this case, also the behavioral aspects were coming up a lot. I mean, because we were asking them, the task for them was to connect with something new that hasn't been done before, something that is new for Sweden or even for the world. So try out a visionary idea together with somebody else. And then in order to make it sort of really transformational, you also need to take into the account the behavioral aspects. So yeah.
Okay,
so
thanks.
we also, for instance, we had a behavioral aspect as an expert evaluator for the projects.
Oh, right. Yeah.
For me, it was very interesting to see the collaboration you had with the municipalities. I think that this is something that's usually, not so common. And I think that, it goes back to, of course, the educational part and working with their different platforms. Can you maybe say how is that different from working with government agencies, or what do we gain from working specifically with municipalities? Because I think that this is something that we can probably all learn from.
Yes, I mean, in many ways, in relation to the food system, a lot of things what's happening is happening on the sort of the very local level and at the municipalities. They are often trying to support their local companies in various ways. If they have a startup or something else, they really try. That's sort of part of what they're doing. So what difference is that The difference is actually that their interest is local. So what we find is that they're super interested to be involved in this work, but at the same time, they are not really able to step up and make the things scalable. It's not really part of their work to make sure that everyone in Sweden is using something or that this is being spread to the rest of the world. So there we have a sort of a bit of a gap, but and of course they are very yeah, there's like everyone. I mean, we're trying to make sure that they lift the perspective and that they see that this is part of something common and something bigger. It's often the case that they're sort of a bit overloaded with their own practical things in the municipality.
Great, that's really interesting. Angeline?
Right. Thanks so much, Alexander, for the comprehensive sharing. I think we learned a lot in terms of how Sweden actually work with the various partners to build the ecosystem and also the innovation projects. I think my question is more from the talent perspective. I think from Singapore, we always have the challenge of like influencing the Institute of Higher Learnings in the case of like universities to actually curate their curriculum and ensuring that there is actually a fit with the industry needs. So I was just wondering whether Sweden has any kind of efforts in that area of preparing the talent pipeline to actually support the food tech and the agri-tech industry development.
Yeah, that's a good question. The talent in regard to food and food tech, I wouldn't say that we have something special in Sweden regarding from the system as a whole. Joanna and Frida, you please jump in if you can provide further information. I mean, the thing is that we have a lot of universities and strong. So I think that the talent is coming from there, but not something special. It's not like a national program specifically for driving the talent in this area. That's not what I know.
And maybe I could add to that. My picture is that it's not really a lack of talent and will that is the main bottleneck, but more the system and the incentives for behavioral change and so on. We have a great university, as Alexander said, and we have the entrepreneurs and the people with knowledge who want to drive this change, but it's a hard sector to work in.
I would thank you. Yeah. I thank you so much for that. I'm very curious to also, I think one way of understanding, it's difficult for me to say what's special about Sweden. I mean, I think when I describe this, I try to highlight things that I think is special, but I'm not really sure if they are, or if you, what are your reactions? What stands out for you? What do you take with you in terms? I think that's also something that we can learn from. Maybe Finland say, oh man, this is exactly how we're working, or we have the same kind of situation, or whatever. Or no, this is really interesting, and I think that our stakeholders could learn from working with Sweden in relation to this. I don't know.
I think I can start first. I mean, from the ecosystem building perspective, I guess it's quite similar, where we try to work with the ecosystem partners to build up environment that's suitable for the food tech ecosystem and the startups to thrive. But I thought what is interesting is actually the 8 task force that was formed, because it's very specialized and you actually looked into specific thematic areas. And that very focused effort will actually drive more targeted outcomes. So to me, I think that's the most interesting part and something that definitely we can learn as well, and also to explore cross-border collaboration in those thematic areas. Yeah.
Thank you, Angela.
I agree. Also, for me, I think that the task forces for the mission-based teams are one of the things that are different a little bit in the way that we grow our ecosystems, but drive them into something that's very unique, and kind of bringing on everyone together, not just for conferences and you know, and networking and events, but actually to work on a national program that's aiming for one thing. So I think that's great. Any other thoughts?
That was the same thing was really interesting for me as well, and it's something that I wrote down that I will look into, but I can find Googling like more information about that. But I was also really happy to see the behavior part. That's because that's the reason why I was asking about it also, because we still talk a lot about attitudes and awareness, and that doesn't actually necessarily mean that people would change their behavior, even if they become more aware and even if they have a positive attitude towards something new. So I was really happy to see the word behavior there as part of the big picture.
Thank you.
Any other thoughts or questions?
Yeah. I saw the urban platform you initiated regarding the production of food within the city, and it's looked very interesting. And I wanted to ask, how can I join, or is it possible for? How can it be done?
Yeah, definitely. I will let me share a connection with the one that is sort of spearing that platform, and you can take it from there. I mean, they have the task as well to be open and inclusive in including more stakeholders in the work, and especially internationally. So I think that sounds really interesting. Start up with the contact and see if you find each other.
Great.
And that, of course, goes along with all the partners that you have in your different countries. I mean, I'm happy to make sure that we establish better connections with, for instance, with these platforms. It will only grow them stronger, and also hopefully your stakeholders will gain from that.
Yes.
Perfect. So I want to really thank Alexander and Joanna for a very insightful presentation, and something that we can all take from and learn from. And I encourage all of you to continue the discussions into maybe further collaborations as we go along. So thank you to all our guests. If there are no more questions or comments, then we'll stay within the members of the forum, if that's okay.
Thank you.